Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today we are joined by Afroze Miah, and welcome Afroze. We are very happy to have you today here with us.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm not sure how this session is going to go, but let's see what happens.
Yeah. So before we get into topic, I will be asking you a few questions regarding what you have been up to. But before that, could you perhaps shortly introduce yourself to the audience, what you do?
Okay, I'm a risk manager working for Costain. If you're familiar with Costain, they're a large construction company here in the UK. But my specific role is I work for Anglian Water. They sent me to Anglian Water to be one of the risk managers on SPA, which is the Strategic Pipeline Alliance. And that's basically in Anglian Water, is to try and ensure that there's a good supply of water from where there is too much water to where there is not enough water. So I'll provide the sort of the expertise, the assurance, the facilitation of good risk management on all the projects within the SPA Alliance.
Oh, that's very interesting to hear. Could you then perhaps get more into it, what you have been up to lately, maybe anything interesting in the industry, or anything that you are focusing on?
I think it's at this stage, it's early days. I've only been in this role for about 5 months, so still learning about the water industry. My background is primarily energy, rail and highways. So water industry is a bit different. Still learning about what the key sort of project risks are in the water industry, and it's all around ecological risks. When you're building pipelines, then you have to worry about what you're digging, what you're disturbing, wildlife, and have to be very careful about that. Obviously with sustainability and ecological factors in the mind. Those are sort of key issues which I'm having to grapple with. So that's probably one of them. Ecological risks is a significant one. Whether it's nesting birds, great crested newts, badgers. We need to ensure that when we're building things, that we protect the natural world around us. Make sure we don't adversely affect wild animals, whether it's birds, those on the ground, lizards, reptiles, or badgers. So that's a key challenge. Is trying to protect them while we're building these massive infrastructure projects.
And I think, since you say you're also from an energy background, nowadays there's also, of course, with the environmental challenges, that's, I think, in some way collides, from what I understand.
Yeah, so, definitely. I
mean,
definitely. From an energy perspective, we've got climate change and global warming, and needing to understand the risks around those and how they materialize and what can you do to mitigate them. So very, very important. And in previous roles that I've worked in railways and highways, the motorways, there's obviously the use of vehicles and ensuring that emissions are controlled. So as an example, in one of my previous roles, I worked in Highways England, and I advised on managing risks when building roads. But one of the issues with building roads is that encourages more people to drive. And of course, more people driving means more emissions, diesel emissions, petrol emissions, and that contributes to global warming. So there is a contradiction in this, in trying to encourage more roads being built, but that also encourages more people to drive. So you need to try and push them towards electric vehicles rather than diesel vehicles or other fossil fuel driven vehicles.
And perhaps what kind of changes are you expecting when it comes to then environmental and also environmental risk management on that sense? Anything you are expecting, any predictions, and perhaps, anything that other risk managers like you should focus on?
I think they're all standard out there. My role is there is a problem in the industry, and in this case, working for Anglian Water, there is the issue of climate change, which means within the region of the Anglian Water Company, one part has too much water, a lot of rain, and another part has very little water, not much rain. And it's obviously water is important for all of us, for life. And how do you ensure that the water where there is a lot of rain and a lot of water, how can you bring it to places where there are people who don't have as much water? And it's trying to build the infrastructure to bring it from one area to another. But also, obviously, because you're doing that, you're building that, you're also potentially damaging the environment at the same time, because you're digging holes, you're laying pipes, you're disturbing the natural environment. These pipes, a lot of these pipes go through countryside, through woodlands, through nature reserves. So there's an impact there. And it's all to do with environment, ecology, climate change. So you're trying to solve one problem, but the danger is you create another problem in trying to solve these problems. And it's trying to keep a balance.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, right now, of course, with so many different challenges coming on, there needs to be a balance, and hopefully, we can all meddle them in a very balanced way.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Can you perhaps give one takeaway point that you can share with your audience, something, for the other risk managers, something maybe you are doing or you should be doing and the others should be doing as well when it comes to the risk management?
I think a key takeaway point is to have a software system that can capture risks and assess risks, because it's important to be able to not only identify a risk and write it down, but to try and break the risk down into its different parts. What's the cause? What's the impact? And what is the risk itself? And the impact could all be financial impact, delay impact, environmental impact. But it's important that that's captured somewhere. And Excel spreadsheets are not good enough for that. They're good enough for capturing, but they're not very good at reporting. So it's crucial a good risk management system, a database, is used to capture and assess risks, because it's easier than to do reports on, say, a risk register, which could have hundreds of risks, but you want to understand some of the trends in that risk register. And it's difficult when you've got an Excel document. If you have some sort of system, a risk management system that you can use, that helps a lot. So that's the sort of takeaway. A good risk management system is recommended when you're doing risk management.
And I can imagine that it allows you to focus on the important parts of actual risk management, where the software at the back end can, do the work daily.
That's right.
Like the easy but time-consuming tasks.
That's right. Otherwise, if you try and use spreadsheets to do the analysis, there's a limit to what it can do. You can do some stuff, but if you want to do, what the trends are, unless you're a whiz, unless you're an expert in macros in Excel or any other spreadsheet system, it's difficult. And of course, with spreadsheets, they get corrupted. So there's always a risk that the data you're looking at is wrong. While with a software system, there is more confidence in the data in there.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I have only one last question remaining, and that is, well, not necessarily risk management related, but kind of. Do you have any comments on being a part of our community or being in general a part of a risk community?
No, I mean, I'd like to understand other people's perspectives on risk and how they deal with risk management, you know, whether it's construction risks or financial risks or any other type of risk. You know, we've got the big risk at the moment. We're all affected by the coronavirus, the pandemic. You know, how is that being managed by the risk community? You
So
know?
it helps you kind of see what your peers are doing and kind of get a bigger understanding of what is happening in general.
That's right, and to be able to benchmark to see whether there's something to learn from the peers. Is there something I can show that we're doing? That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing everything you have shared today with us. Then that's going to be it for today. And yeah, once again, thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for accepting to have this interview together and joining us. So, well, I wish you a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
For the chat. Thank you.